Okay, let's get started. Moving on to Oklahoma. First of 9 challenging Big 12 football games. We will take it one at a time. Doesn't matter who's next or who is the previous one. It's all about Oklahoma. First road trip of the season. I think we last year approached these games the right way and came out with being 4-1 on the road last year. So it's not going to be a whole lot different than that as far as our approach to it. Oklahoma's we know what we're getting into. Just like anything else, we got a whole bunch of guys on our team that have been to Norman. They were on this trip 2 years ago. They've played against the Sooners for the last 3 years. They got familiarity with what they are, who they are, their personnel, what their stadium looks like. They got great tradition. They got an awesome fan base. They got a lot of things going on for them. They got great players, great coaches, and when I go back, my history with Oklahoma has always been about what they do defensively more than anything, and they look like they're as good as they've been on defense. Mike Stoops has been there for a while, coupled with Bob, who has a hand in the defense as well. That same type of scheme that they went against us last year and got about the same players that they had last year. So we know we got our work cut out for us. They're big, they're physical, they want to stop the run. Have no problem playing man coverage with the talented athletes they have on the back end. Offensively, they've switched up coordinators, as everybody's well aware of. Lincoln Riley coming in from East Carolina has got a history in doing some of the same things that I've done in the past. The biggest thing with them is they got some new personnel, starting with their quarterback, who's a playmaker. Is fun to watch. Keeps it alive as good as anybody in the country. Has got a talented live arm. Can run the ball as well. So it starts with him. Lots been made of him coming in and stalling the air raid, as opposed to what they were doing the last few years, which was a version of the air raid, if I'm not mistaken. But they do have talented running backs, as we know. We saw the Pirine guy go for over 200 against us last year. Was the difference in the game, especially in the second half. After that game, I thought we changed some things up to do a better job of stopping the run, and I think we're more capable of being able to stop the run now than we were at that point with the evolution of this defense a year ago. The receivers are talented. They can make plays downfield. Sterling Shepard is as good as it gets. Another senior that's made plays and is as good as any receiver in the country. Reminds me a lot of the Lockett kid from Kansas State. Same type of guy, maybe a little bit undersized, but makes plays downfield, good in the return game as well. Special teams has always been solid with them. Got a new kicker who's a highly recruited guy, who's one of the best ones in the country coming out of high school, and has lived up to that label being put on him. He's their kickoff guy and their punt guy, which is a little bit, he's their place kicker guy and their punter, which is a little ironic. Not a lot of guys do that, but has been almost perfect. And then the return game, like I mentioned, was with the Shepard guy, and then we saw what happened last year with the Ross kid that took one back on us when we had seized all the momentum in that game a year ago and went up 7. They seized it right back with him with the kick return, so that will be something that will get addressed this week as well. So with that, we'll take some questions.
Notice right off the bat the 603 yards Tulsa got against Oklahoma. What caused that? Was it a product of the game, or
who?
603 yards Tulsa got 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. And we've studied the tape. Obviously, I don't know. They defensively played great against Tennessee. I mean, it was 2 different defenses that you see against Tennessee, and then what you see against Tulsa. And I don't think anybody would I think everybody'd rather have Tennessee's guys than Tulsa's guys. Tulsa does have one good receiver, but Tennessee's been recruiting at such a high level for the last 3-4 years. And so they got players after, they got a lot of players running around out there, and Oklahoma shut them down. They jumped out on them early in that game and then basically kept them out of the end zone for the rest of the game for almost 3 quarters. So, did they relax? There's probably an element to that. You can say the same thing for us in our game too.
Dana, their pass rush, you said your offensive line was spotty, I think, second half this past week. Are you ready for what you're going to see out of Stryker and that group?
We better get ready. And going back and looking at it, I don't remember saying it was just the second half. Did I say that in the post-game deal? I don't think I did, but it wasn't very good all game. We did a poor job of pass protecting, and that's something that's been addressed with our offense. And I'm pretty anxious to get out there and work on it here for the next 3-4 hours, because getting Stryker and Neal and Tapper and a couple of those safeties coming off the edge is going to be a different speed. It was last year, and it is again this year.
You said after Sam J ran for 200+ yards against you guys, you changed some things and you got better at that. Is it fair to say that might have been a little bit of a turning point with your defense?
Yeah, I mean, and by no means have we got 100% things figured out, but we held a pretty good Georgia Southern team down, from what their rushing total normally is. We, going back looking at it last year, held TCU and Kansas State well below their average as well. So, we got more experienced guys that take more snaps in the defense are going to continue to get better at it. So I think we did a decent job against the run, other than him getting out on that one long run. Did a pretty good job against the run again this past week as well.
Dana, Wellman seems like a common denominator in your red zone success of late. What is it about him being on the field for those situations that helps y'all get in the end zone more?
He got 2 balls. They were relatively easy balls to catch. It's all about setting up the run, not taking anything away from him. But if you set up the run and they stop the run, then you can slip things in the pass game. So it's a bunch of run pass options that we have, whether it's him, whether it's Cody, whether it's wideouts. DeKeel making that catch in the back corner of the end zone is the same thing. It's run pass options. They take away the run, then you throw it to guys that have slipped behind them.
Fair to say that your success running to the middle against Maryland was at least somewhat due to Wellman
100%
getting out there.
Yeah, and he blocked better than I've seen him. You want to write about him scoring a touchdown, then go ahead. That's fine. That's good. That's great for him. But we're a little more interested with him working good pad level and being pointed in the right direction and making sure you block the right guy and do it with great pad level and finish the block. That's way more important than him slipping into the end zone and catching an uncontested pass.
Dan, you mentioned the beginning about how you approached the road games last year, 4-1. Can you expand on that?
Oh, I just doing things the same way, about routine. We travel the right way. Guys they're excited about going to a different place. We tend to get to the hotel at the same time, whether it's home or whether it's away. The guys know what the routine's going to be. They get to go spend a bunch of good quality time together with each other, hitting the road, and stay in nice hotels, eat good food, go to different venues, which are always exciting, and you know, be able to rise to the occasion to meet the challenge of being able to play on the road. I think our guys look forward to it.
Is home field advantage maybe overrated a little bit by, I mean, I know the percentages say that, but always a good home team usually plays some softer games and has trouble bringing good teams in to face them.
You know, I don't know. There was a lot. It seemed last year the percentage of home teams winning was lower than it has been in a while. I guess we had something to do with that. But you know, we think Mountaineer Field's a home field advantage for us. I'm sure the Sooners think that home field advantage is something for them as well. It's a big stadium. It's loud. They got great fans. You know, I think the Mountaineers thrive off of that. I think we're going to hit that field and be anxious to play and be excited about being there.
You were talking about how you guys travel the right way. For a lot of your freshmen, you have a lot of freshmen on the team, this is their first road game. How do you teach them, how you get that in their heads, how to travel the right way?
Well, fortunately, we don't have many. So there's not many guys. There's two that I can think of. Maybe a junior college guy, Rasul, Gary, Javon. Other than that, there are probably not many. Cron would be one. 4 or 5. That's a far cry from 15 to 25 that we've had in the past. So I don't know. They got to lean on the older guys, and you know, those guys will make sure they're at the right place at the right time.
Dana, what about noise? Obviously, when you're at home, they're cheering for you. When you're on the road, they're cheering against you. Signals with Skylar, anything extra this week as far as getting ready for that?
Yeah, we've had to change all of our signals. We've had to change all of our cadences, and it's always an issue with Big 12 opponents that know you as well as we know them and they know us. So we've been preparing for this for a year, and we just got to constantly kind of keep changing things. I'm not worried about the crowd noise. We can do everything silent. We've been able to do everything silent since I've been here. We can be multiple in our snap counts. We can be multiple in our signals. It's an issue versus these guys because they know us so well. You know, we got to probably huddle more. We got to, you know, use different cadences and use different signals to make sure they don't know exactly what we're doing. And it's going to be the same thing the week after. It's going to be the same thing the week after. It's going to be the same thing the week after.
You know, in your time in the Big 12, Dana, have you seen a 4-game stretch kind of quite like the one that you guys have just coming up here? You know, playing 4 top 20 teams, 3 of them on the road. You know, in all your years in the conference, have you seen any any stretches kind of quite that difficult?
Yeah, I see it every year. I mean, every game's hard. Every game's challenging. You know, you can say, okay, well, last year you went to Texas Tech and Oklahoma State and they weren't ranked. Well, let me tell you something. Those games were as tough as any game that we played in last year. It's all the same. Going to Iowa State's hard. Going to Kansas and Kansas State's hard. Doesn't matter. I don't care who's on our schedule. We're going to focus hard on who the next one is, and we're not going to worry about what's ahead of us until it's time to worry about what's ahead of us.
Dan, what's your relationship like with Lincoln Riley and what you've been able to do with the offense at Oklahoma? You see some similarities between both of you guys?
Yeah, I mean, our background is the same. You know, Lincoln's a dear friend of mine, and we, you know, was spent a lot of time with him when back in my Texas Tech days. He's a great kid from a great family who married up. Got some good kids running around now. You know, proud of them. His wife was my nanny for a while, so we go way back. And happy for them, happy for his family. You know, done great at East Carolina for Ruffin, and is very deserving of where he's at. So you know, we'll probably sit back 20 years from now and talk about the good old days. Until then, we ain't talking.
Dana, how much has he evolved the offense? And you've evolved it. How has he evolved it since his Texas Tech days?
In his own way, he has. In my own way, I have. Haven't been on the same staff in 8 years, so it's been a while, you know. And his probably resembles. I think what we see is going to be a constant evolution based on O-linemen getting more experience, based on staff continuity developing. You know, he's working with Cale Gundy for the first time. He's working with Bill Bedenbow for the first time in 10 years. You know, he's working with Dennis Simmons, who's another dear friend of mine. First, you know, was at East Carolina with them for a couple of years. So they're going to continue to mold as a staff, take their players, get Bob's input, and don't know what the final product's going to be. So I think it's still a work in progress.
Dana, you guys cracked the AP top 25, which I'm sure isn't really a consideration.
We did?
Yeah, y'all are 23.
That's great news, man.
Sarcasm, that was awesome. But are you guys in a better place than that team was last November, the last time you guys were in the rankings?
When was the last time we were there?
It was, I think, the second game 11 of last year.
Yeah, I don't know. We're in a better place now than we have been in a while. I know that. You know, our team feels good about where we're at. Our goal is to be 3-0. You know, we cruised past the non-conference portion of our schedule and finished 3-0 to meet our goal, and anxiously awaiting Big 12 football. So our team's in a good place. We're healthy. You know, we're continuing to improve. So yeah, I think we're in a good spot.
You guys got Zach a couple times last year. Sanchez, I guess Kevin White got a lot of guys here, but he also made an interception. He sort of has a boom or bust reputation. Is that just because guys get thrown at so much that they're bound to give up some plays?
Yeah, he's a good player. I mean, he went toe-to-toe with Kevin the whole game. So Kevin got him a couple of times. He got Kevin a couple of times. You know, he's a ball hawk. He's got a bunch of interceptions. There's a lot of people that, especially with the nature of their defense, where they put those guys singled up with what's going to be a lot of good receivers in the Big 12. So he's going to get thrown out a lot just because of the nature of what they do defensively. Hopefully we have some success like we did last year, and hopefully he doesn't have as much success.
Does Baker remind you of the guy you've got running around making plays at quarterback? You know,
they're similar type players. They're both probably a little bit undersized. Neither one of them were recruited very hard out of what is pretty good Texas high school football. You know, both play with a chip on their shoulder and are mobile. You know, got good arms, are accurate. You know, like to play the game, both exciting. There's some similarities in the two, you know. I guess that's the appropriate way of putting that, but yeah.
Dana, the way Wendell and Russell were able to run the ball last week, is that something you feel like you can finally rely on? This running game has come around?
It'd be nice. It's a lot easier to call a run play and it get 15, 20 yards than anything else. Wendell had his best game since he's been here. He was explosive out of the backfield. And again, our O-line did a good job, a relatively good job, and they did a real good job in run blocking. And with Cody and Eli, they did some good things as well. You know, we want to be able to run the ball when they're giving us the numbers to run the ball. There's going to be a lot of times this Saturday where they're going to try to take away the run. So we got to be creative to be able to figure out how we can get some protection in the run game, even if they're going to try to stop it.
Dana, the non-conference stuff, it sounds like you guys have kind of try to get out there and see what you're going to get from defenses? And just talking to some of your guys, it sounds like that's not necessarily the case in conference play. You know what they're going to do based on, I guess, familiarity of playing them. Is that necessarily the case? Do you always know what you're going to get, or do you find sometimes that they'll throw change-ups at you in similar way you experience in non-conference?
I don't think you ever truly know. It's part of why you game prep all week long. Watch a bunch of tape and try to come to a conclusion on what you think you're going to get. But you better have in-game adjustments if that's not exactly what you do end up getting. So, I think I got an idea what Oklahoma's going to do against us, and if they do, then we'll have a set of plays that we know we can call and attempt to execute against a pretty good defense. And if they change some things up, we better have the knowledge and the wherewithal to be able to gather that information and change what we're doing. So, there's a game prep portion of it, and there's an in-game adjustments portion of it.
Yeah.
We know these guys as well as we do anybody else, and they know us pretty good as well.
How much of winning football is preparation, and how much is adjusting during the game?
There's the responsibility of the player that goes into it as well. It ain't all coaching. I mean, I know you guys would like it just to pin it on me most of the time if it doesn't work out, but the preparation's important. You got to know your opponent. The how you practice all week is important. Getting your guys prepared to play is our job. And then getting them prepared to play physically is our job, and their job as well. They got to take a vested interest in this as well. And then you get into the game. I mean, players got to play. We put them in position to play, and they got to get out there and they got to make plays. And then you got to communicate on the sidelines and make some adjustments, coaching wise, and then having players understanding that is there's an experience factor to that as well. I can't name percentages or any of that.
With as much football as your guys have played, does it even matter that in this season that Oklahoma's had that tough game against Tennessee and you guys haven't had a competitive game in the second half? Or can you draw upon previous years' tight games?
Yeah, I think you can draw upon the previous years. Our game against these guys was competitive in the second half. We can learn from that. So was, what the other 10 games that we played last year. So we got a lot of guys that have been in these games and it's football, played a lot of football. So.